Hey Jason, here from Simply Swider. So if your Kenmore oven is beeping like crazy and flashing that F10 error code, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix it. Good news is, most of the time, it's something you can handle yourself without paying for a service call. But first, always make sure your oven is completely cool and disconnect power at the breaker before starting any repairs. Safety first. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group. Links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. All right, so the F10 code means your oven thinks it's running too hot, what we call a runaway temperature situation. Now, here's the thing, sometimes it really is overheating, but most of the time it's just a sensor or control board getting confused. I'm going to walk you through the most common causes, starting with the simplest fixes and working our way up to the more involved repairs. All right, so the F10 code means your oven thinks it's running too hot, what we call a runaway temperature situation. Now, here's the thing, sometimes it really is overheating, but most of the time it's just a sensor or control board getting confused. I'm going to walk you through the most common causes, starting with the simplest fixes and working our way up to the more involved repairs. So, the most common culprit I see is that temperature sensor going bad. This little probe sits in the back wall of your oven and acts like a thermometer for the control board. When it starts failing, it sends wonky readings that make the control board think your oven's about to catch fire when it's actually running perfectly normal. You'll get that F10 code even when the oven's stone cold. Here's how to check it. First, disconnect power and let the oven cool completely. Then grab a multimeter, set it to ohms or resistance mode, and touch the probes to both sensor wire terminals. At room temperature, around 70 degrees, you should see a reading between 1080 and 1100 ohms. If it's way off from that range, there's your problem. The fix is pretty straightforward. Disconnect your power, remove those screws on the back wall inside the oven, pull the sensor forward to disconnect the wire harness, and swap in a new one. Another big one is when a relay gets stuck on that electronic control board. I had this customer last month whose oven kept heating even after she turned it off. That broiler element was glowing red hot during bake mode. That's a dead giveaway, the relay's welded shut. You might also see some charring or burn marks on the control board itself. This is an actual runaway temperature situation, not just a false alarm. The solution here is replacing the entire control board, which means removing the back panel to get at all that wiring. Just heads up. Some of these models require you to reuse your old faceplate or buy a new overlay. Sometimes it's just a temporary electronic hiccup. Power surges or internal logic errors can trigger a false F10 code out of nowhere. The code shows up suddenly but might not come back right away after you restart everything. Before you start tearing into your oven, try this simple fix. Unplug the unit or flip that circuit breaker for anywhere from 2 minutes up to half an hour. This hard reset clears out any glitches in the control board's memory. Wiring problems between the sensor and control board can drive you crazy because they're so intermittent. You'll get F10 errors that come and go, and when you pull off that rear panel, you might see heat damage or frayed wires. These wires can get pinched during installation or just deteriorate over time from all that heat cycling. Check the harness for continuity with your multimeter, secure any loose connections, and replace any damaged wire sections you find. Here's one people don't think about: blocked ventilation causing actual overheating. If stuff's piled up around your range or those vents are blocked by cabinetry, your oven can't release heat properly and the temperature really does get too high. You'll feel excessive heat around the control panel or see scorch marks. The fix is simple. Clear all that clutter away from the range and make sure every vent inside and outside is completely unblocked. The temperature sensor is going to run you somewhere between 10 and 50 bucks depending on where you shop and your exact model. You can find these at appliance parts stores or order online. This is definitely worth fixing yourself. It's probably the easiest repair on this list. The sensor just slides out and the new one slides right back in. Takes maybe 15 minutes if you're taking your time. Control boards are where it gets pricey. You're looking at anywhere from $100 to $400 for the part alone. That's still way cheaper than a service call plus parts markup, but it's a bigger investment. You can get these from appliance parts dealers or sometimes directly from Kenmore. The installation takes about 45 minutes to an hour and is a bit trickier since you're dealing with multiple wire connections. I recommend taking photos of the wire connections before disconnecting anything, but if you're comfortable with that kind of work, you can definitely save yourself some money. Now let's talk about what you're looking at cost-wise if you need to replace parts. The good news is most of these fixes are way cheaper than calling someone like me out to your house. I'm going to break down what each part costs and whether it's worth tackling yourself. Now, you can see on the screen right now the most common Kenmore models that run into these F10 issues. Take a look. You might even spot your own model up there. The 790 series units are especially prone to control board failures, particularly after running a self-clean cycle. Don't ask me why, but those self-clean cycles seem to push the electronics over the edge on these models. That's how you tackle the Kenmore F10 error code. Here's your action plan. First, try a power reset for 10 minutes. Second, test the temperature sensor with a multimeter. Third, check for damaged wiring. Fourth, inspect ventilation around your oven. And finally, if the oven stays hot when off, replace the control board. Most of the time, it's going to be that temperature sensor, and that's a quick $10 fix. Important safety note, if your oven's actually staying red hot even when it's supposed to be off, this is dangerous. Immediately turn off the breaker, don't use the oven, and either replace that control board or call a professional. This is a fire hazard that needs immediate attention. If you guys know someone who's having appliance troubles, please send them the link to this video or a link to my channel, where I have tons of other videos showing how to fix pretty common issues with appliances, sometimes for free or as little cost as possible. It sure beats having a repairman come out and spending several hundred for them to fix it when it could be something so simple. If this helped you get your oven working again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.